I found 5 iconic images that all have components that appealed to me. This image of Prince was shot by Platon, I'm not quite sure. It is iconic as it represents a musical legend that inspires and mesmerises audiences. It appeals.
I can still only see the Spice Girls. It hasn't moved to Prince, or is that just me?
Yeah, I've got the Spice Girls too.
Yeah.
You got to click down. It looks like you're highlighted on the number 1 still.
Hang on.
That's
yeah,
it.
Brilliant.
Oh, like that.
Yeah, yeah. You click on the sides.
Is it working now then?
Yeah, I got Prince now.
Okay. I'll start again. This image of Prince was shot by, is it Platon or Platon?
I think I read it as Platon, but he likes to pronounce it as Platon.
Platon.
Yeah.
It is iconic as it represents a musical legend that inspires and mesmerises audiences. It appeals to me as the image does not need words and displays Prince's persona as a musician. I could use the blank canvas as a background and only studio lighting to display the person's face, using a splash of colour, in this case red, to bring the image to life. This image of a migrant mother was shot by Dorothea Lange. It is iconic as it represents the Great Depression to raise awareness of and provide aid to impoverished farmers. It appeals to me as the image again does not need any words. It portrays a hungry and desperate mother with her 2 children. Her face says 1,000 words. I could use the idea of capturing the struggle of a mother using a different circumstance, for example, homeschooling during COVID. This image of Albert Einstein was shot by Arthur Sass at the Princeton Club in New York. It is iconic as it was captured by chance, as Einstein was fed up of smiling and decided to stick his tongue out, showing humorous historical personality. I could use this image to inspire me to capture people's hidden personalities in a portrait shoot. This image of Adele was shot by Alistair McClellan for the Gentlewoman magazine. It is iconic as it represents Adele's personality with a face that says, "I'll be who I want to be," and a cigarette in her hand. It inspires others to be who they want to be. I could use the idea of showing a personality through a portrait image. I also like the pattern in the clothing in contrast to the plain background. This image of Audrey Hepburn was shot by Yusuf Karsh in a studio setting. It is iconic and has become a historical image to represent Audrey Hepburn that is stripped back of extravagant clothing and lavish jewellery. It appeals to me for its simplicity. Hepburn is not looking at the camera, yet you still connect to her beauty and personality. I could use the simplicity of the image using a high-key studio setting that focuses solely on the model with no distractions. That's it.
Have you got something about the Spice Girls one at the beginning?
No, I just like I like the picture.
Oh, that's cool. So that's the start. That's just the starting slide. I'll get you. No problem. I really like the idea of the migrant mother and like linking it to maybe lockdown homeschooling, because that's obviously something very news prevalent. That could be quite a nice strong link in there. I always find it really interesting whenever we do this, because normally obviously we do this in a classroom. We don't. This is the first time I've ever done it via an online call. But the amount of times Audrey Hepburn appears in iconic image photographs, like she's whether it's that the pictures are so iconic or whether it is that the character is so iconic, because like we remember the pictures of the person, no one ever remembers the photographer, and that's I think part of for me how you get, like, most people are aware of these iconic images and see them, but if you said Joe and Jane Public, they go, "Oh, I've seen that picture, I recognise that picture, brilliant, who took the picture?" And everyone sits there scratching their head going, "Ugh." And part of that is when you create an iconic image that the iconicness of it becomes bigger than you, and that could be an interesting thing to look at when you're researching the idea of iconography in images. But no, that's good that you had a reference that you could, with those. Obviously you could say, are those ones you're planning on recreating pretty much all of those, or because you mentioned how you could, so it's good to see.
Yeah, so in each of them I saw something that I would possibly use going forward.
Like the Platon images, the ones of Prince, especially with a lot of them, he always has that really kind of like focused, beautiful, like lighting gaze on his images. And the one he does quite a few where he has people who look close. There's that kind of weird, quite macabre look to them, especially when you look at someone like Prince who's not long died, and you see them. I think he did some by like Bowie and people who again, that kind of look, it has that kind of stillness to, but it's still with the kind of the almost puckered lip of going on, has that kind of cheeky sort of sass.
It's so calm, but it's full of his personality at the same time.
Yeah, and that's part of that, and part of that is great links to the headshot task as well, because the idea of taking a shot of somebody that can link to either a character they're playing or indeed a personality that they're showing there. But no, that is very good. Let me just drop the recording.